Hello everyone, we are Group 33. Members of our group are Clark, Diago, Jiayi, Xuanmei, and Yushi. Today, our topic is addressing cybersecurity in healthcare organizations from an architectural perspective. The introduction of novel technologies like IoT and the increased digitalization of healthcare organizations not only prompts the healthcare system more convenient, but also cause more cybersecurity issues, because advanced medical equipment might be subject to the vulnerabilities due to their openness nature. Therefore, the cybersecurity issues related to these technologies need to be addressed by healthcare organizations in a holistic manner to maintain the safety and the privacy of patients. We organize our presentation from 6 parts. The first part is an architectural perspective for healthcare organizations. To meet the technological complexity and capabilities of healthcare organizations, a broad view of the organization is needed. Exactly, EA can be a tool to help organizations to integrate their IT resources and medical services effectively. This is our as-is architecture, which is a TOGAF-based EA using Archimate. It covers 3 layers. The hospital service layer focuses on the health worker-patient interaction and also the interaction of both with the application layer. Firstly, this layer contains the logic and rules that define the clinical information along with its value and meaning. Secondly, it holds the patient care processes and interactions, such as diagnosis. Thirdly, it incorporates the hospital organizational structure, including roles and responsibilities. It's virtual. All services in the hospital service layer are collected to the application layer, which contains 2 domains. Firstly, the data domain holds the patient's health records along with data generated from applications such as patient profiles and data flow from medical devices such as temperature. Secondly, the application domain offers an interface for hospital service layer to interact with information systems. The technology layer acts as the technological infrastructure that supports the application layer. This layer defines how technical components interact and how they should be deployed for maintaining interoperability among medical devices and information systems. Both traditional infrastructure such as network systems and advanced IoT-based technologies such as wearable and mobile-based devices are included. To identify the security issues in the whole architecture, next my teammate will explain cybersecurity in the healthcare industry.
The cybersecurity landscape will be divided into the evolution of cybersecurity and the issues in the healthcare industry. Let's turn to the evolution. The concept of network security emerged in the late 70s when computer viruses such as Melissa targeted corporate email systems and giving birth to antivirus software. Through expansion of cyberspace, cybersecurity is no longer sufficient to deal with multidimensional attacks. In 2013, Red October, one of the advanced espionage malware that targeted diplomatic and government agencies around the world for at least 5 years, was captured. In 2017, the number and the severity of cyber attacks increased, with Equifax having the personal data of 147 million consumers stolen, and by now, a quarter of organizations has been hit by global attacks involving mobile devices. In recent years, emerging technologies have been integrated into the healthcare industry, making the system more flexible, convenient, and economical. However, because the healthcare industry is not as mature as other industries in terms of protection, it has become one of the most targeted sectors. Since 2010, the frequency of data breaches in the healthcare industry has been on the rise, with 94 of healthcare organizations falling victim, and an estimated 150 million patients having their health records compromised. As IoT and cloud computing become increasingly dominant, large amounts of information are being stored in the cloud and shared with other devices. This interconnection can be subject to many vulnerabilities. Also, a large amount of data generated during medical process is considered to be a significant source of attractiveness to data breaches. Healthcare providers often have a wealth of sensitive data, whether used for extortion or trafficking. This data is more valuable than that from other industries. Cybersecurity issues have caused serious financial and reputational damage, such as extortion software that might bring down the system and delay urgent care. Besides, health data cannot be altered. Therefore, when private data is compromised or damaged, patient safety is at risk. Cybersecurity protection is not just a technical issue. The broader healthcare environment requires comprehensive system architecture that coordinates across all three levels. So next part will be followed by a few case studies by my partner on what threats the industry is experiencing.
Thank you, Connie. In this section, we will introduce some real-life cases of cyber threats to healthcare organizations. Healthcare organizations are subject to cyber threats in various aspects, such as software systems, medical devices, social engineering, and interoperability. In 2019, one Michigan-based ENT and hearing center experienced a ransomware attack. Their computers were shut down and would not turn on, as a result of refusing to pay the ransom of $6,500 to the hackers. Their whole system's files were erased, and the practice had to shut down for 6 months as they lost all the necessary data to operate. While ransomware attacks leverage the loopholes of applications, the medical devices might also be threatened by cyber attacks. In June 2019, an e-health device maker, Medtronic, was reported by the FDA that their insulin pumps were susceptible to hacking, that someone nearby could wirelessly connect to the pumps and potentially hack into the device and change the settings. The diabetic patients, therefore, are threatened due to the potential overdose or misfunctioned alarms. As a result, the company was ordered by the FDA to recall thousands of their insulin pumps. The people who work in the healthcare organizations can often be targeted by hackers as well, in order to open a backdoor of their information systems by phishing attacks. In early October 2013, one of their computers in the University of Washington Medicine were taken control of by the hackers, as one of their employees opened an email attachment that contained malware. The compromised data which is stored in that computer was patient information including patient names, medical record numbers, and dates of services. The incident was identified and reported to the FBI in the next day. Poorly managed interoperability can also lead to cyber threats. In March 2019, a California-based company who develops EHR software did not set up any password for its fax servers, and the data is not encrypted. Consequently, as the company heavily relied on the fax transmission to share patient files to other providers and pharmacies, anyone could read the transmitted faxes, including medical records, doctor's notes, prescription details, and critical personal information of patients.
Now let's look at the impacts of cyber attacks. In order to categorize the cyber attacks implications on healthcare organizations and their critical technological assets, an analysis that classifies the various threats, vulnerabilities, and risks which are important for these institutions given the increasing introduction of pervasive systems. Here is a summary. Threats can be related to objects or entities that represent a current danger to the health organization's IT assets. Vulnerabilities can be referred to as the weaknesses that threats entity or objects might exploit to conduct cyber attacks on the health organization's IT assets. And risks may be viewed as the negative impacts on healthcare organizations resulting from the exploitation of their IT assets vulnerabilities by threat entities or objects. There are three challenges raised from the implications that might affect the three layers of the healthcare organization's architecture directly or indirectly. First is the lack of interoperability. A correct configuration of medical systems is key for healthcare organizations' interoperability to be effective. Thus, it's essential for healthcare organizations to keep up with the right IT assets and the newest version of software. A lack of interoperability might affect secure data transmission between layers. Moreover, misconfigurations may disturb the availability and security of systems, therefore messing the quality of service. Hence, a lack of interoperability might expose the layers to security threats. Second is the lack of network security measures. The amount of medical equipment has been increasing greatly in the past years given the rise of IoT and mobile work environments. Although these devices can ease a health worker's job, cyber attacks to grow in number based on the openness attributes of such devices and the wide use of network. Also, healthcare organizations might be suffering from defective guidelines. Availability of systems might be impacted as well, thus leading to hospital service layer to have operational efficiencies. Lastly is the lack of security awareness and training. One key aspect of cybersecurity in healthcare organizations is health workers, as they might not be aware of how to detect or prevent cyber attacks. Hospitals are vulnerable to ransomware or phishing attacks, as poorly trained health workers can be the easiest way for hackers to get malicious access. Misuse of medical applications by unaware medical staff may lead the patient's data confidentiality and integrity to be at risk and even jeopardize the availability of systems. Now my partner Diego will talk about the recommendations.
Now let's move to recommendations. As stated by the challenges presented before, cybersecurity incidents generate a chain of high-risk events throughout different layers of healthcare architecture. We considered a holistic approach for building cybersecurity capabilities and for promoting cybersecurity culture. Therefore, we propose a cross-layer model that includes technical and organizational best practices as vertical components coupled with the healthcare organization architecture. Regarding technical components, in terms of security architecture, intrusion detection and prevention systems are needed to manage incidents, along with firewalls and anti-malware to defend the network. Also, the use of periodic backups are needed as part of the recovery plan after attacks. Secondly, IT assets need to be protected by periodically installing patches and updates of systems, and also by enforcing the access controls. Moreover, an asset configuration policy should be set to maintain interoperability among devices. Thirdly, in regard to the security of data, encryption is considered indispensable to handle the confidentiality of data and also the levels of authority for the stakeholders to use applications. In terms of organizational components, in relation to security governance, a clear definition of goals and responsibilities related to security is needed, so the hospital service layer is aligned to the technical layers. Moreover, security policies should be established to conduct the behavior of health workers, and also for setting security training and awareness programs. Secondly, with regards to risk management, the identification of threats, vulnerabilities, and risks should be conducted according to a risk management plan. Furthermore, a contingency plan is to be in place when the healthcare organization is under attack, such that key stakeholders are contacted rapidly to recover the system's operations. And thirdly, with respect to compliance and assurance, the standards should be adopted to comply with industry security best practices, and also procurement of technology should be ruled by policies and contracts with technology suppliers. Now let's move to conclusions. The Internet of Things technologies have gained popularity in the healthcare industry in the past years, and they have also increased the complexity of its IT landscape. Meanwhile, the healthcare industry is suffering from various cybersecurity threats more frequently than other sectors of economy. We performed our analysis of the healthcare organization from an architectural view, and we identified three major gaps in the current healthcare organization architecture, which are insufficient cybersecurity awareness among people, lack of interoperability among systems and devices, and unsound network security configuration. Our contribution is that we provided an improved architectural solution to address the cybersecurity issues in the healthcare industry. We recommended a holistic cross-layer architectural solution comprising technical and organizational components. By following these guidelines, healthcare organizations can build cybersecurity capabilities and resilience into the current architecture comprehensively. Now we can start with the Q&A session.